Welcome to week number 2 of our coverage of Star Wars Visions.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another visionary episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
Are you? Are you okay?
Yup, I'm Drew. I'm here.
Gosh.
I was like, what just happened?
My mouth did not want to say anything.
You sounded so sad.
I was like, oh.
I'm Andrew. I'm Jeremiah.
I'll try not to cough. All right. Well,
Here we are.
Great.
It's gonna be a banger tonight.
Oh, yeah. And anytime we have a moment like that, it stays in.
Yep.
well,
Yeah, so this is going to be great.
Expect.
So we've got a good episode ahead of ourselves. We've got some heavy hitters in today's episode because we're covering the next 3 episodes in the Star Wars Visions anthology series. The Village Lady.
No, that's not it. The
eight-
Village
eight-
Bride.
8+1 Jedi and some droid in Tatooine.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. We're doing the Village Bride, we're doing the Ninth Jedi, and we're doing TOB1.
You say 8+1?
8+1 Jedi. Yeah. So we're gonna be discussing these 3, and these 3 are bangers,
True.
heavy hitters.
Well, two of the 3, but we'll get into that.
Oh boy.
How dare you? The
Well-
Village Bride is pretty good. Wait,
we
that
gonna
wasn't
jump
the
into
one
it
you-
or what?
No.
No, I thought that was the one you're saying that is okay. I'm
Yes,
just kidding.
It's decent. Yep.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a good episode. Like last week, we are just gonna have an open discussion about these 3 episodes. Talk about the general plot, notable things, what we thought, what we didn't like, what we did like, all of that good stuff. I'm excited,
But for the Village Bride, I got a presentation. Remember? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah.
a little bit different. We're breaking.
Yeah.
Stride,
But I'm excited. So this is an episode that, if you've been following along with us for the last few weeks, we've been saying, or I've been saying, that I'm going to do something with the voicemail transition, and all I'm going to say is you're going to want to stay for voicemail time. If for some
Ooh.
reason you don't stay for voicemail time ever, 1, shame on you. 2,
True.
you need to, because it's awesome. And 3, the transition this time is going to be
on
special.
fleek.
Oh, it's going to be on fleek and much more. And it's here to stay. So if you like the voicemail, okay, I looked down. I looked down at the chat. Here's
Andrew's having a baby.
here's another running joke. I'm not having a baby.
Yet.
No,
Okay.
we're not going to get into this right now. But
Okay.
the goal is right now is not to. We're not doing that right now.
Right.
Anyways, all I'm saying is, 1, I'm not having a baby, and 2, we have a brand new special voicemail transition that I'm really excited about.
Awesome.
Let's just go ahead and dive in. So we're starting with the Village Bride, and last week, Jeremiah, you left us on a cliffhanger,
I did.
True.
and that cliffhanger was, give us a paraphrase.
That not only is it the best episode of this season, but why I also think it's quite possibly one of the best things in all of Star Wars.
Now, that is a very big claim.
It is
Pretty intense.
It is.
Yeah. So Jeremiah created a presentation.
Yes, I got a PowerPoint presentation. So all those listening to the audio version only, this will be on YouTube, hopefully Wednesday sometime.
Yeah. I looked down at the Twitch stream, and the View Twist says we need a PowerPoint, and you said you were saying as he was typing as that popped up, I have a PowerPoint, and he said bold. So let's see the goal this week for this first chunk of the episode is for Jeremiah to convince Drew and I that not only is this the best episode,
And all you listeners.
and all of you listeners,
All you listeners, yep.
and watchers on YouTube and
True.
during the live stream, convince us that it is one, the best episode of Visions, and two, potentially some of the best Star Wars out there.
Yes.
Which
It's pretty
it's
intense.
a big claim.
That's a big claim when something like droids exists. So
and Ewoks. We can't forget Ewoks.
And Ewoks.
True, Ewoks, yes.
So yeah.
But before I jump into it, what are your guys'
Overall
presentation?
Oh, that's a good
thoughts.
Good question.
So
Yeah.
I watched this directly, like we literally finished recording. I got off the stream and everything, and then went and sat on my couch and watched The Village Bride, because I was like, last week, for those of you that weren't here, I hadn't seen all the episodes, and Jeremiah was like, "Oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. It's the best Star Wars ever." And I was like, "Okay, well, if if Jeremiah is gonna say that, then that's gonna be the next thing I consume Star Wars related." So I went and I watched it. I will say that I do not yet fully understand what you see in this. However, I will say that it's a really good story. It's a great story. Animation's beautiful. I think
you've only seen it once, right?
I've only seen it once.
Okay.
I actually remember this episode quite well. And one of the things, because of what you said when I was watching it, I paid special attention to everything. I was like, okay, I gotta soak all this in, look for Easter eggs and significance of things and stuff. So it's a beautiful episode. Like, as I would say, more so than all of them, this has the most overall beauty, I think, to the whole thing. The music, the story, the writing, the animation, like it's really a work of art. And I think it's a good story. I have yet to watch any of the Visions episodes dubbed. But I did hear that they used the original Battle Droid voices.
They did
for that part.
Those Japanese ones are a little off.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw what they were trying to do. I was like, oh yeah, you guys did that pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great story. I really enjoyed the lightsaber and the super anime-esque like split second flash attack. Like that was so anime.
Oh yeah, that was
where
with
someone
the high
attacks.
heel.
Yeah, no, someone attacks where before you can blink.
That was pretty dope.
Yeah, so I thought it was good. I mean, it was there was not a single thing in that episode that made it weak or undesirable for me. Like, all around solid, holds up, great story. Yeah.
Drew.
I love that. I love this episode a lot. I don't see what you're talking about, Jeremiah.
Uh-oh.
But I'm willing to take in whatever you're gonna bring us. But I do really like this episode. Like Angie said, I really love the art style and how it felt like anime, but then also felt like Star Wars, because like how they kept mentioning like the droids and stuff like that, and like the Empire was around too. So like you kind of felt like it was like right after episode 4-ish like timeline. Like it felt more like it could have happened in the timeline than a lot of these other ones, like because she was a Jedi who is like hiding essentially and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, like the timeline it could be in. Like it felt more like it could be canon essentially, which I enjoyed it. I watched it this morning because I wanted to get a full refresher. I watched all 3 of these this morning, but yeah, I really did enjoy it a lot. It was a fun episode, and it's pretty, the whole story about like how like everyone's connected to the planet, all that stuff. I think is a really cool concept. And
Yeah, I like that.
it really did feel like an anime, but it also felt like Star Wars. And her lightsaber is probably the coolest lightsaber, one
Yeah,
of the coolest, if
it's
not the
super cool.
coolest, because it was super thin.
Well, it looked like an actual katana.
Yeah, it was
Like
dope.
it had the same like dark saber
Mhm.
katana type shape, and even like
and
even
when
the
her high
guard.
heel, like that last part, when her high heel kind of split open to give her
Yeah.
extra boost, and she just went. Oh,
Yeah.
that was pretty
That's
dope.
that dude. That's classic. That
No,
scene
it felt like I was watching
encapsulates
like
everything anime.
Dragon Ball Z, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
or it really felt like I was watching Demon Slayer. Like it had that.
Oh
like,
yes.
like
Where the it with
yeah.
what's his face, the thunder sword guy,
Yes.
Crybaby.
Yeah.
I'm totally blanking on his name. Someone in
The
the
one
chat
that
is gonna.
everyone is in love with, whatever his name. Like all the girls
Yeah,
want him, but yeah, like
Zenitsu. Thank you, Riley.
yes.
Yes, dude.
It
Yeah,
felt
because
like
it felt
him.
exactly like that, where he falls asleep and there's a split second of him crouching,
And then all
where
of a
he's got
sudden
his hand on his blade, and then all of a sudden it's just like bah, and he's
boom,
done.
boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom. It felt like that. Like it was
yeah.
really cool. It also kind of reminded me of the scene how Maul died. Like it was really quick.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, you talking about Rebels Mall?
yes,
Yeah, where
Yes.
he died, not when
I said
he
died.
Yeah.
didn't die.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's.
Obi.
He only died
Yes.
once.
Yeah.
We don't even know if he's. No, we know he's dead.
He's dead.
But the way Obi-Wan killed Maul in Rebels, like it was really quick. It
Yeah.
kind of felt like that too. Like it was really like,
Yeah.
I liked it. I really liked it.
Which,
Now,
by the
would I
way,
say it's better than everything we've got in Mandalorian season 2, or like I don't know.
I didn't say it's
but-
the best thing. I said it's one of the best things. So
Sure,
there's definitely other
true.
things that are better. But
which by the way, Drew, this is on a completely different note. Season 2
Oh,
of Demon Slayer is this month.
yes. And on a completely different note, we do have a date for Boba Fett that happened
It's
last
the
week.
29th.
which is a Wednesday.
So
It's
we
Wednesday,
got to
my
figure
bad.
that out.
Episodes are being released on Wednesdays. We might have to
Might have to do a.
tweak our schedule. Maybe I don't know.
I'm
Yeah, I
actually
don't-
kind of surprised that they chose.
I think it's because there's gonna be a new Marvel thing that's gonna start coming out Fridays.
There's tons of stuff coming out in December on streaming things. So
I think they're kind of like giving a different platform, like they're swapping, because Marvel's been coming out on Wednesdays, and I think they might be swapping it over. But that's besides the point. Anyways, Jeremiah,
all right. So
bring us in.
So before I do my bring up my presentation. So this is like a stripped down version of what I wanted because we couldn't do a complete whole episode devoted to this. So
We could have.
we could have, but what I think I'm going to try and do eventually in the coming weeks is to make a video separate and post it on our YouTube of kind of like old school Star Wars theory videos where it was just images while he was commentating and talking.
Wow.
I think I want to do something more in depth than I'm going to be presenting tonight.
Wow.
Well, by you saying that, you kind of have to do it now.
Yep.
Just how you said you might have a presentation last week, and you have one.
If you want a full video just on this, leave it in the comments below.
Yeah.
And leave a thumbs up while you're over there.
You guys know what
and
to
make
do.
sure you
Hit that
subscribe.
button. Yeah.
And if you're listening, send a voicemail that you want a full episode.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be like a stripped down version. There's a lot of stuff that I left out, so keep that in mind. And so let's bring this up.
Oh, and by the way, if you're just listening to the audio version of this, please, if you want to see the presentation, please go check out the YouTube version.
Yes.
YouTube.com/Empire Radio, a Star Wars podcast. Go ahead and subscribe while you're there. Because things are only going to get better from here. All right.
All right. Do you see it, guys?
I do, yes. Freaking
What?
EU with Jeremiah presents The Village Bride, storytelling perfection.
Yes.
Wow.
So this is...
That image is sick. Where did you get that
is.
image?
It's the end of the episode.
Oh.
See the guy laying there dead in the bottom left corner?
Spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Spoiler
I
alert.
do.
Yep. So, yes. So I think that this is storytelling perfection, and so,
There's 11 slides.
Bro, he has 11 slides. Okay.
okay. So
Give it to us, Jeremiah.
let's see. Let's go. There it goes.
There we go.
We are introduced to the character named F, and so it's kind of weird that this is her name, and so
It is.
Yeah.
I've tried to like what the title says, F as the observer. I didn't
Yeah,
want to
I was really confused
I
on where
was
you were
like-
going with this.
so like I have say things so I don't make it sound weird. So yes,
Yeah.
so her name is F. We don't know what it stands for or whatever. And so she arrives on this planet and she meets up with an explorer named Velko. And so
She's hiding from the Empire.
and we know she's hiding from the Empire. And so immediately, okay, so they kind of before we get into this, so like the description, like on the episode when you click on it, says a Jedi. So like we're kind of like spoiled on that in a sense, but I'm analyzing this episode as if we don't know anything about the episode or anything about Star Wars in general, because I think that if you interpret this as a standalone story without knowing anything about Star Wars, it still holds its ground and it makes a lot of sense. And so,
Okay. Yeah.
understand that's my point of view when I'm kind of deep
Okay.
diving into this.
By the way,
So-
everyone is acknowledging you in the Twitch stream as the substitute teacher.
That's
Make sure you take your notes.
Take your
and
notes. There's gonna be a
at the end
quiz.
of this.
And I told everybody in the chat to make sure they're on their best behavior.
yes.
Oh, that's good.
Or what technically Riley did, and then I reinforced what he said. So
All right.
yeah.
So, yeah, she's hiding from the Empire, and so throughout this whole entire episode, she is a very cautious and hesitant person, but she's very observant. And
Mhm.
so, because she is very observant, we can see her as F as the story lens. And so, if we look at this episode and watch this episode, we have to think of it as we are observing everything through the eyes of F.
Okay.
And so it's interesting because, like even these like that first picture on top, the camera pans and it's just them watching the village bride and the groom on their trek. And so they're watching from a distance. And so, what I really like about this episode is, there's a sense of mystery in this episode. We don't really know what is exactly is going on. And so like, that's what I feel F is doing this whole entire time, is she's asking what is really going on. She's observing and trying to figure something out. And we are learning things as F learns things as she's watching and observing and whatnot. And so what makes this episode so amazing is that this entire episode is based on us just watching something unfold. And we've talked about last week where the biggest rule in storytelling is to show and not to tell. And I think that this episode is a prime example of how perfect showing a story can be the best form of telling a story, because when we are watching things unfold, we understand what's going on, but then we are given an explanation after it or sometimes during it. And so we're not surprised with the dialogue, or we don't learn a lot with the dialogue. It's more of it's kind of like a clarification of what we've already learned.
Yeah.
And so my last little bullet point there says dialogues are at a minimum and are only there as an aid. And if you remove 90% of the dialogue in this episode, you don't miss out on anything. Like you still understand everything that plays out. And
Do you
so
have that version ready?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
I'll figure that out someday.
Okay.
But so I've watched this episode from start to beginning probably 15 times, plus going through trying to get screenshots and rewatching scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever. You pick up a lot of details. So in this image on his screen right now, when they're doing the hike, I didn't realize the first few times I watched that there's a path to the other side that's no longer there. You can see on the other side. I didn't notice that right away.
Oh.
And so when you realize that there's a path there and there's a canyon there, you learn by watching that a canyon was created, fell. There was a path and now there is not.
Yeah.
And so if you notice that right from the start, when we see in a few minutes the memory of the planet where it all collapsed, it makes sense. You expected that to happen because you saw that before there was a path.
Yeah.
And so you didn't need, any kind of explanation about how, the planet was exploited for its resources when the separatists were there and by their raiders, because we saw it already happen. Now it explained, kind of more specifically what happened there was an exploitation of the planet, but we knew that something happened to the planet. And so we see this a lot. And so we see when they have that the memory vision thing with them playing in the water, we get that that's a memory, and then we're told, oh, this is the planet's memories. And so we see it, and then we're just given an explanation of it. And I think that's such a great thing, and it does that throughout the whole entire episode. And so, like I said, the dialogue, it only is there as an aid, but it's not necessary to understand the episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so before we go further in, I want to talk about the breadth of this story. And so with such little dialogue, the sound design is the breadth that gives life to this story.
Mm-hmm.
And so the most obvious is the music. I think the music in this episode is amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's super 100%. Emotional, and it draws you into the story. And it gives me chills every time. It gets me emotional every time. It's just it pulls you in. But the more subtle thing of the sound design is just the sound effects. There's a lot of obviously in filmmaking and whatever, they specifically create sounds to match what's going on in whatever they're doing. I get that.
Yeah. But
in this episode, it was just it felt so more planned out and very intentional with what they were doing. This is really weird, but I think the best sound design part of this, the sound effects, was when they arrive at that black pillar rock thing and he sets the bride down, and just the touch on the wood and the creak and their timing with that.
Yeah.
It's so perfect and it's so realistic. It wasn't a generic wood creak.
Yeah.
It's almost like they created that contraption and went and had a wood dock somewhere, a wood porch or something, and they just put it on there and recorded it and had this perfect sound. I don't know. And then throughout the episode, there's other little things here and there, and it's because there's such a little dialogue. What dialogue we have is there. It's very minimal, and so they have to expand our eyes in the story by expanding our ears, and so we hear so much more, and that tells more of a story than the dialogue, in my opinion. And I think if you take away the music or the sound effects, I think the story isn't as good. I think because we need breath to live, and I think if you lose your breath, you die. So this episode would die without the music or the sound effects.
Yeah, for sure.
And so just just the overall story of this. So this is post Clone Wars. So I would say it's probably because of the memory of them playing in the water was probably 10 years before, 10, 15 years before. So this is, somewhere right in the smack in the middle between episodes 3 and 4, this kind of timeline. And so the planet was exploited by separatists and then later by raiders. And the mystery that is finally revealed is that the raiders demand collateral to ensure the people don't fight or resist them. And so Haru, the bride, who is the village chief's granddaughter, volunteers to be that collateral. And we see that F sees this and has an inner conflict of some sort. And so now we move on to F as the Padawan. And so earlier on in the episode, when they are observing the sunset, there's a weird camera angle where it pans down and you see her braid and like you only see half of her face. And I was like, my first time I saw this, I was like, that's a weird camera angle to like end a scene on. Like I didn't get it right away. But then later on we'll see why. And so during the episode, F has 2 flashbacks. And so it seems as if she was a Padawan during the Clone Wars. And at some point there was an attack and her other Jedi were killed. And so if you look at the credits, there's it says there's 3 Jedi, I think 2 male and 1 female. So there were 3 Jedi in that scene that were there with F during this attack of some sort. And in those flashbacks, we hear an interesting sound, and it's the same sound that Palpatine makes in episode 3 when he fights Mace Windu and the other Jedi. So it was kind of weird because then we do see a red lightsaber in her second vision. And so like I wonder if this was Palpatine that attacked her group of Jedi. So maybe this is post Order 66 maybe, and Palpatine is out there doing some work, but I don't know. It's kind of up for speculation. Did you guys recognize that scream?
Actually,
thing?
I didn't.
So you know that weird scream thing that he does in episode 3?
Hey, could you do it? Is that?
No, I
Oh,
can't.
okay.
Sorry.
No, I just didn't know if you had like a reference planned.
No.
Yeah, the sound effect set up.
No, I don't got that.
That's
but
fine.
it just reminded me of the Palpatine. It was like specifically the Palpatine scream. So I was like, that's interesting. And so we see those 2 flashbacks. And at the wedding, when we fully understand what the dilemma is with the village, F says to Velko that she knows that he's trying to get her to intervene in some sort. And she doesn't like that. Like she sees the injustice, she knows what's going on, but like she's just hesitant, like we talked about at the beginning. And Velko makes this interesting claim, like, I know you have this code of yours, but I don't care, type of thing. And so she has some sort of code, and it's like, what is this code? Like, I don't like. And it seems like maybe it's like a don't intervene type of thing. Like just like she's an observer. She watches from a distance. Everything she does in this episode, she's from a distance. Climbing up the mountain from a distance, on the cliff from a distance. At the wedding, her and Velko are at the very back watching. Yeah. And so I was like, maybe this is part of her code where she's just observes and she's at a distance. She doesn't want to disturb anything. And so then after the wedding, it goes to her in the middle of the night, and she's doing classic Jedi stuff, lifting rocks. And so she's there making a rock float, and then so she's contemplating what's going on because the bride shows up, and it's like, I know you don't think what I'm doing is right or wise, and like, do you think I'm being reckless? And she's like, well, what do you think would happen if I intervened, or if this threat was thwarted? And the bride was like, I don't know, it'll just put my people at be a threat to the village if we do something or whatever. And so obviously F is contemplating all the different scenarios that could play out if she were to intervene. Um, and to this point, like, we don't really know who F is. Like, we know she had a master because that's mentioned, and we know um, she's force sensitive now at this point, but you still don't know who she is. Like, the story is like that, where you don't know who she is. Yes, we know going in she's probably a Jedi because we just know that's the story. But if you don't know anything about Star Wars, if you're just a first time watcher of Star Wars, like, you don't know who she is. And so that's part of the story, is who is F. And so the next morning, as the sun is rising, she cuts off her braid, and I take that as she knighted herself. She was a Padawan entering this episode, and now she cut off her braid and she became a Jedi. And so my question then is, what caused her to knight herself? And I think it's her master's roots and her code. And so we learn at the beginning of the episode, when the whole memory sequence happens, immediately she says, "This is," like, out of shock. Like, she just says that and it cuts away. And so she recognized something, what was happening, the memory thing. And then Valko says, I brought you here to show you this because an old friend of ours has roots here. And that's when she says, my master. And so right then and there, she is now emotionally connected to this planet and to the people, because somehow her master is connected. So, like, if he knows about this planet or knew about this planet and the things that went on and the spirituality of these people, like, maybe he spent a lot of time on the planet. Maybe he's originally from the planet. We don't really know.
Maybe the planet has memories of him.
Maybe that too. And so, like, but somehow she's like, she recognizes what's going on because of what her master taught her. So that causes her to have the inner conflict, in my opinion, because I don't think she would make any effort to bring change, to help people because of her code. But because she's emotionally invested, now she has an inner conflict. And so I think that she does recite the code, though, actually. So when she intervenes with the
sisters,
and with the raiders that come, she says, like, she recites something in her mind. It seems like she was reciting something. And she says, "You can't change the river's flow by casting a stone, but live in harmony with nature and you'll change together." She says that, the people of this planet know this very well. And then she says, "The breath of life becomes wind and will always respond." And so I feel like this was a code that she lived by. And she might have learned this code from her
master.
And so I find it really hard to believe that the scene of the memory of the kids in the stream with stones is not purposeful with that code that she says, because she says, "You can't change river flow by casting a stone." So, like, there's no way that the writer of this story had two separate stone and river references without them being
Right.
connected.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the meaning of the memory and this part of the code is, but somehow they're connected. When I make that YouTube video, I'll have it all figured out. So tune into that, and who knows when I get that done. But I think it has to do with the people living in, like it says, but live in harmony with nature and you'll change together. And so it's like you can't force things to grow or to change. If you just let it do its thing, let nature run its course. And so, like, here they're throwing stones in the river, and it's not changing the river's flow. Like, there's a reference, or like they say, we're making a path for the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe they're not harming the fish by casting conflict into the river. They're just making a path for the fish to travel easier or something. I don't know. And so it's almost like she wants to let these people live in harmony with nature, and she sees these raiders as people who are not allowing this planet to live in harmony with nature, because they're not just setting a stone in the water. They're virtually just making a dam and just blocking the river's flow. And so I think it's something along those lines. And so it's this full circle where she sees this memory of them playing in a river with stones, and then she probably remember her code from her master saying the same thing. You can't change rivers flow by casting a stone. And so I think it's just a great way to tie things together. I'm still trying to figure out the breath of life becomes wind and will always respond. I don't really know what that means yet, but I was really hoping there was a scene where there was like a gust of wind, and I'm like, got it, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. So,
and so this, in conclusion, F as the observer and story lens forces the story to be shown, not told. The sound design is its own character, and F's transition from a Padawan to Jedi is deeply meaningful. Now, there's a lot other things to talk about. I think the bride and the groom are interesting people to deep dive into. I think there's more to say about the Raiders and the idea of the Magina, which is probably the people's understanding of the Force. They call it the Magina.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I have a friend from high school who lives in Japan, and I can message her like, "Hey, does Magina mean anything in Japanese?" And she's like, "No, it doesn't." So I was like hoping it meant something, but she thought maybe it comes from the Latin term magi, which means magic. So there's
cool.
that.
Yeah.
But yes, so I think this entire story is perfect in the way it is presented. Because I said over and over again, the story is shown, not told. And when you watch it over and over again and look at the details, you find more and more little things that you see something and you understand it, and then you're told later or understand it later, like as a clarification. And I just, as a story, apart from Star Wars, it's amazing and perfect. And because it's amazing and perfect and it's Star Wars, I can say it is one of the best things in all of Star Wars.
All right.
So there's my brief presentation.
Oh, well, thank you for preparing all of that.
I liked it.
Yeah, that was really good.
Makes sense.
Did I up your enjoyment of the episode at least?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it was already one of my favorite episodes out of the series. So like, I don't think it's the best one, but I do understand where you're coming from.
You just gotta watch it more over and over. Now that you've heard my presentation, go and watch it. Remember what I said.
Every sound. I want to like be more intense with it too, for sure. And I think a lot of our listeners and watchers will do that as well. because of the way you broke it down, and I do appreciate it, and I think it's a really good point. I can't. It's hard to disagree with that. Like, it's pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. I think it is a good piece of cinema for sure. So
Yeah. Did you recognize what kind of starfighter was in the shot?
I
that
did.
you-
I have written down. It is a Z-95 Headhunter, which is
Yes,
from the
sir.
Clone Wars. So
It's also the
Oh.
predecessor of the X-wing.
yes,
Yep.
yes. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that
Yeah.
kind of adds more context of like where she came from, like
where she came from, like she
maybe
was
she
a Jedi from the Jedi Temple at some
or
point.
from
Like,
what she was with worked with
she
clones, and
worked with
so
clones.
maybe she experienced some sort of
She
Order
knows
66.
Ahsoka. What?
Maybe she knows Ahsoka. There's that, and so I think it's cool that she has a clone fighter, which is cool.
Now, like the way this ends, though, like is one of those episodes that like you don't really need another one.
I
You know what
don't.
I mean?
I'm happy. I don't need
Like
to.
I don't think there'll be another one
I
of
don't need to see
them.
a F in another episode again. Like
There will be no more Fs to give.
That is the weird thing that's her name.
Yeah, I don't think that this needs. I think adding more story to this would
Would
hurt
hurt it.
the
not
quality
gain
of
it.
the
Correct.
original story. Yeah,
Right.
100%.
yeah.
There's something in my notes that I missed, but um, at the beginning when the explorer says to her, like, she's like, "Did you finish your exploring?" Blah blah blah. It's like, "No, but this planet is too interesting." He says, "But I did find something I'd like to show you." And everything, so and then we see everything as being shown to us. So that's like, it's almost like the writer purposely was doing that. We're like, I'm going to show you a story.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I think if anything, for me, this is a window into the things that you pick up on and view as artistic and significant in storytelling. So it's interesting because like I can go through and pick apart in a very different way, but almost to the same extent, pick apart the duel, right? I talked a lot about that last week because those are things that have deep significance to me nostalgically. Like I love samurai films. I always have, I always will. And um I think what you did is very interesting because, like, you know, it obviously helps me see it in a completely new light. I don't know if it changes my standing on what my favorite ones are. I do agree with you wholeheartedly that as a story, it is extremely well told. Just in general, like apart from Star Wars, like you said. But I think what's even more interesting is hearing you talk about all of these things. Because this is something we don't get a lot of. Normally, I tend to be the one that like goes off on those like, here's the significance of this, and here's the depth, and why this ties in, and all these things. And it's really interesting and very cool to see you explain things like this and to get a larger sense of like what stands out to you in a story, which reinforces things that we've talked about in like, you know, Clone Wars season 7 and some of the other moments that have really stood out. But it highlights the fact that art and these stories in Visions as a whole, like everyone has a favorite, everyone has a highlight, and that's the beauty of what they created. Is like there's something that resonates, and that's the beauty of Star Wars. There's a story, there's an element, there's a musical score or whatever. There's a bit of storytelling that resonates, you know, like not The Last Jedi, but that resonates with like with the fans. And I really appreciated the presentation and hearing you explain it, because there were definitely things like I totally got the music. because I'm very
Yeah.
musically inclined. But like there were other elements that you talked about that I didn't quite pick up on the same way.
Such as?
I mean, like, I think I was aware of the sound design,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it
but
didn't
it's
but
like
it didn't
Yeah.
it didn't register the same way that it did when you explain it. Because like going back and remembering the sound of them, like the wooden the
Yeah.
backpack, the human backpack or whatever it's called, like I actually remember feeling something different when I heard that and just
pushing
acknowledging
aside.
it, but not necessarily going, well, that was a good sound. Like what?
Yeah.
Let's go back and listen. But it stood out to me as different.
Well, it's kind of like, we always reference Corridor Crew, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they always say, like the best CGI is when you don't realize it's CGI.
yeah, yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
best
And
sound is when you don't
yeah,
realize it's supposed to be
because
like that.
like
Like
like when we talk about TOB1, like that's over the top sound effects and crazy beeps and boops and
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that kind of like you're very aware of those sounds because they're
correct.
not real. But like the sound design here, it's so realistic that like you don't realize it, but you're so engulfed into the story
The
because of
moment
it.
that it doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
it makes it so that it's actually one thing. Like you're not stepped out because it's over the top
Right.
or like stepped out because it's not enough. Like it was like the perfect that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when you were talking about like the best CGs, the ones you don't realize are there. I think the storytelling too for this episode as a whole um was that way, where it was like, because I remember feeling the confusion of like what
Right.
why are we watching them, what's the Rock doing, like,
Right.
and then of course it becomes they explain it, but
Why can't her feet get dirty?
yeah, it's like all of these things. I really enjoyed that because I was uncomfortable because I didn't know, and then you learn and you're like, oh, okay. But the fact that you're not aware of the story being told that way, while you're not like they're delaying everything or like they're showing us rather than telling it, like the
Right.
fact that it was that subtle, I think is a testament to the storytelling, for sure. So this was different to me, and I think as a whole there was some really heavy story elements in Lop and Ocho, but I think this one had the deepest story with the most subtleties to it,
Yeah.
Right.
and it felt like a heavier, like Tatooine Rhapsody is just, it's lighthearted, it's feel good,
It's
It's
wholesome. It's
yeah, yeah,
fun.
yeah.
The music slaps. Like it's
But
just
but
it's
yeah, but
good.
like this was the one that makes you, for sure makes you think the most. You could argue Akakiri might do that, but like I don't know. I this was definitely a much deeper one for me as well. So good stuff all
Good
around.
good job with the presentation.
Yeah.
Hopefully the people in the chat won't fail the quiz. But
Did they say any comments?
Well, all I'm seeing right now is
I
the fact
see
that
Gonk.
Riley's favorite is TOB1, and if Jeremiah says it's bad, he'll publicly disrespect the pod C.
Well, then maybe
Maybe
I'll
it's
leave
just
for and you guys can talk about that.
But no, the people said the presentation was really good. And one of the things that
clap,
Riley
clap,
even
clap.
says was how TOB1 stood out to him for the reasons we talked about, because it was nostalgic for him because it reminded him so much of Astro Boy.
It does.
And so, coming back full circle, there is that thing. Like, obviously, we're about to talk about an episode that I'm pretty sure we're going to hear from Drew. We're going to hear the things that stood out to him and helped that episode stand out from the rest. And so, it's cool stuff. But speaking of standing out from the rest, the brand new, but also old friend of the podcast, cufflinks.com, stands out from the rest when it comes to fine, dapper accessories for your wardrobe.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned last week, they are now officially a sponsor again of the podcast.
Yeah.
So let's just take, after a good presentation, let's just take a breather and listen to a word from the first sponsor of today's episode, cufflinks.com. What's up, everyone? Andrew here with a word from the sponsor of today's episode, cufflinks.com. If you didn't know, cufflinks.com is the premium accessories marketplace, and they offer a wide range of products, including but not limited to ties, cufflinks, jewelry, and much more. The awesome thing about cufflinks.com is that they've partnered with popular brands like Star Wars to bring you exclusive, officially licensed products. Their products are designed in a way that's great looking and fun, which means you can support your favorite fandom and look good doing it. Want to snag something awesome for yourself or someone else? Try using the code EMPIRE20, that's with a capital E and no space at checkout, to receive 20% off your next order with no minimum purchase. Still not convinced? Well, cufflinks.com offers outstanding customer service, 1 to 5 day delivery anywhere in the United States, and free shipping on all orders over $100. Want to feel like 1,000,000 credits in your next outfit? Head on over to cufflinks.com. Who doesn't want to feel like 1,000,000 credits in their next outfit?
I know I do.
It's a good feeling.
Speaking of
True.
1,000,000 credits, I did not win the
Dang it.
$600 some odd $1,000,000 Powerball. I played 5 times,
Damn.
Hey,
and I won $4,
Hey.
and so I lost 6. But
well, you can't win them all.
True.
Can't.
Not yet. There's
not
always
yet.
next time.
there's always next time.
I'm always curious because like my wife and I will watch the news. We watch the news in the morning. We just have it playing while we're getting ready and stuff. And every
you guys
time
are
there's a
old
drawing,
couple.
I'm like, are they gonna say it? Is it Jeremiah this time? It's gonna be like Minnesota, resident in St. Paul, Minnesota, wins the 600 million, confirmed to be Jeremiah West, and I'm like, what?
You would
I'm ready
cry.
to like flip out.
You guys would probably be one of the first to know. Like,
Yeah,
See, I was like thinking about that the other day. I'm like, would I want people to know that I won?
well, here's the thing. I think there's only 2 states where you're allowed to be anonymous. Legally, in 48 states, you have to go on the news and do the press conference
Gosh.
as part of your thing.
wow.
So
What 2 states are those?
I think like Arizona is one of them, and then I don't know, like South Dakota or something. But there's
Yeah.
no one in South Dakota anyway, so it's like no one's gonna see you.
It's
But
just like
And
you
a,
know,
co-
as
and
soon
a
as you
local cornfield
win,
from South Dakota wins the lottery.
everyone that you know that you haven't talked to forever, like your phone is gonna blow up from everyone. Like, hey,
no
yeah.
one has my number, so my phone is not gonna.
True.
blow
It's
up.
actually
That is fair.
actually
That
though
is
of
fair.
all the people,
You're probably
Jeremiah
the
is
best
probably
one.
the most secure. Like when it comes to all that stuff. So
Yep.
to answer Riley's question, is 1,000,000 credits better or worse than Looking Wizard? I think the two are somewhat synonymous.
True.
Um,
As long as
looking,
you have cufflinks on.
yeah, I think Looking Wizard is a little bit better by
Yeah.
like a few decimal points, but looking like 1,000,000 credits, that's good. Feels good.
But yes, cufflinks.com.
Yes.
Use
Yeah.
the code.
Yeah, please use the code.
And
That would
then,
help us
but
out.
next month we are gonna be starting to do some
Yes.
giveaways and some
Yes.
reviews and whatnot of their
Yep.
products, and so we're excited for that.
Yep.
So we did it last year. We're doing it again.
And if you missed the announcement, I'll say this again, the giveaways are going to be really fun. It's not going to be go to the link in our bio and click all the boxes and check us out. No. Like it's going to be creative. It's going to be fun. And not only are people going to win things, but we're going to get some really good content out of it.
True.
If all goes according to plan. So please stay tuned for that. And please, when we start announcing these, participate.
Yes.
Because
Riley,
I
we're
know
looking at you.
I know we've got some super talented, super creative people in our listenership and in our Discord,
And
so
we know the numbers of how many people listen. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people out there that are not in the Discord. They're not sending voicemails, and this is your time to shine.
yeah,
Sure.
it's gonna be good. So let's move on to the next episode, the Ninth Jedi.
All right, Drew, where's your presentation? Let's
come
go.
on, give me your presentation.
I don't have one. I'm
So,
sorry,
Drew,
guys.
yes or no? This is your favorite episode.
Yes, this is my
Okay.
favorite episode.
I figured that was still the case.
Yes.
This is probably my second favorite episode.
Ooh.
Oh,
there
to
you
the
go.
Village Bride?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now,
okay.
there's a big, huge span of
Yeah,
difference
yeah.
between the two.
I would
Yes.
like to make a bold claim.
Uh-oh.
Here and now on the
Oh.
podcast.
Oh no, you're gonna pull a Jeremiah.
Jeremiah
I'm not.
number two.
No. Whoa. Okay, first and foremost, I thought this episode was fantastic.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
you did say that before we started.
Yeah,
the
I think
podcast.
it's a great dude. It was amazing. I think I watched this episode, and it made a strong case for number one for me. Like
Ooh.
almost to the point where it dethroned the duel. The duel can't be dethroned because of the nostalgic impact.
Gotcha.
But here's the thing.
Duels.
I think that this episode is as good as it is because of the length.
Yes. Do you know why it's so long?
Because it was two.
Yeah.
They merged two stories. So here's the thing. I think that the strength of this episode is that they told more story. We got more. Now, I think that the two, because you can, it's pretty easy to tell what the two stories would have been. It's like the stuff happening on the planet with the girl, and then the stuff happening in the Jedi Temple. Those would have probably been the two separate stories. I think it was smart because I think as two separate stories, they definitely weren't as strong. I think they merged them together extremely well. Right. But I also think that because it was pretty much the length of a normal episode of something,
right?
I think we got more because I think here's the thing. I think if The Village Bride had been 22 minutes long and we had gotten more depth and stuff like that, I think it would have been even better. Same thing with the duel.
See, I don't know about
how long was
yeah.
Was that 18 minutes, 17 minutes?
Was The Village Bride really that long?
Yeah, it was pretty long.
It felt so much shorter. Like the Ninth Jedi felt so much longer to me than all the other ones.
It up?
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I don't think it felt longer.
I looked down.
Yeah,
I looked down at the Twitch, and when I said I had something to say on air, the View Twist popped in with another Andrew's having a baby. No, nothing has changed.
The Village Bride is 19 minutes.
Are they really that close?
It is. So.
Oh my gosh!
The Ninth Jedi is 23 minutes.
Okay, now I forget. I look like an idiot now. Thanks,
well,
guys.
It is the longest one though.
Thanks.
By like 4 minutes.
It's the longest one.
Okay, you know what?
Ocho is 21.
Okay. Here we go. I am taking it back. I take it back officially. Never mind.
Well, no, you're still right though. It's the longest one.
It is long.
We have the most.
It felt to me.
Time.
It felt like they were able to tell so much more story.
Yeah, like you're not wrong. You're right.
Anyways,
they were wrong.
We give it back to you, Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
But honestly, though, like The Village Bride, if it was any longer, if anything, it would just be a little bit more fighting. Like I don't know
which I would have
enjoyed.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know about anything about that story that needed to be longer.
Yeah.
Though, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when I watched The Ninth Jedi, I remember feeling like, oh, they definitely milked their time. Like they put as much into this as they could. And to be fair, I have no complaints about the episode. Like I thought that when I finished watching that, I almost put it in my number one spot. That's how much I like this. So please hear me out. All of you listening and watching on YouTube and Twitch, you're like, oh, he hates this episode. He's ragging on it because it's the longest. No, stop. What was it last week? Oh, the lightsaber thing. Again, it was still a good episode, but
I'm just saying the girl when she made it super long, I'm like, her blade, she could change the length. So like
Yeah.
when she turned it on, it was like 10 feet long at first.
Yeah.
I was like, she knows the advantages of having a super giant long lightsaber. You can cut through Star
Anything.
Destroyers.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything. Yep. Um. So. Yeah. So the basic plot of this, since we don't have a nice deep presentation this time, thanks,
Sorry,
Drew.
I didn't know what was.
Um,
My
the
bad.
the kind of 30,000 foot view plot is there are these two stories happening simultaneously. You have a group of what we expect to be Jedi. Light side Force users. This is post the fall of the Jedi, and there is this, rich guy who's Force sensitive. He's got power and influence, and he what was his name? Something with an M.
Master.
Who? Which one?
The guy
Margrave?
Margrave. Thank you. I was gonna call him Maury just for fun, but Margrave is his actual name.
Well,
So
there was a lot of drama up there. So
Yeah, there was.
more.
So Margrave, he's like pulling all of these, light side Force users together, and he
called out for.
Yeah, he sent out a little encoded hologram thing, and he's like, "Come to this temple. We're gonna give you lightsabers." Because they've been extinct for years, but we've made new ones. We're going to give them to you, and then we're going to basically together we're going to rebuild the Jedi Order. And then the second side of the story, interesting. Riley says David pointed out it is probably more sequel trilogy era. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's after 9. I watched a video that they like in passing where it was like, yeah, this is post Rise of Skywalker, where the Jedi have been extinct for a long time. I don't know. Anyways, it's not canon, but
it's not canon, so I don't know.
It doesn't matter, But the second story is of this young girl who is the daughter of the sabersmith who is forging these sabers, and then some bounty hunters show up to steal the lightsabers and basically wreck the place. And then she fights them off. She ends up going up
and one of them says that she's Force sensitive. One of the bounty hunters says that.
Yeah. Well, it's very clear that she is. Like she's a Jedi.
But
she's a Jedi, yeah. Or she's a Force user. And so she fights the bounty hunters, and then the next point is where the two stories converge, where she goes up to the Jedi Temple in orbit, where all of the Jedi have been called together. She delivers the lightsabers, and then plot twist, like all of the Force users that were there turns out they're dark side users, and we'll talk about how we know that in a second. I don't want to get into that quite yet, but it deserves its own conversation, so I'm going to leave that there for a second. And then there's this big, really cool fight. Fun fact, Margrave has been there the whole time in basically a Gundam. Spoiler alert. And then it ends on a huge cliffhanger where the girl's father was taken by the bounty hunters, and they're setting off to, do the whole light side of the Force thing and get her father back. So there was a lot that happened, and then at the same time, it was this kind of really well-contained story that leaves you wanting more. Like everything that I watched and read on this episode was like, I totally watch a series of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they were like, you should make this into a series. I 100% agree.
Yeah, I do too. And it's the only episode that I wanted like more of the story. Like everything else seemed like, yeah, it's pretty quick. Well, the twins, it's left wide open, but like I didn't really care about that episode. So like,
yeah, unless he has a huge lightsaber.
Yes, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but
that has to be the new default. Like he shows up to fight some battle droids, and he just
the
entire city just gets demolished.
Yeah, it's like everything catches on fire because it's so hot around him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
actually, Drew, that reminds me, I'm gonna take a rabbit trail for a split second. I'm gonna bring it back. We were talking about Squid Game right before this, and Jeremiah's rolling his eyes. It's amazing. Jeremiah doesn't want to hear about it.
If you want a full breakdown of that series by Andrew and me, comment down below, and me and Andrew could do
Yo,
do a little podcast sneak
100% would
episode
do
thing.
that. Anyways,
But
I saw you said Catches on Fire, and that reminded me that one of your favorite BTS songs is Fire.
oh yeah,
And then
Who
that
told
brought it
Renee?
full circle. And I saw a TikTok of this guy, and it's during the red light, green light, and
Uh,
and he stops his red light, but then Fire starts playing. He's like, no, don't do this to me.
I
Don't do
can't
this to
stop
me. And you hear it
dancing.
both totally. And then he starts doing the choreo, and
Who told Renee?
he gets,
Oh, that's awesome.
it's funny. It was really funny.
That's funny.
All right, we're bringing it back. So the Ninth Jedi.
Jeremiah fell asleep.
Oh, what was it? Oh, we're back. Okay.
Yeah, we're back. Anyways, so the thing that was the coolest, and also the thing that I think stood out the most, was the lightsabers in this story. And this, I would love for this to be canon.
Yes.
Like, I would love for this whole concept to be canon. And so
But
basically,
it's hard because, like,
yeah, it is. But the concept is that this sabersmith, as he's building these 9 lightsabers, he somehow tempers the kyber
yeah.
crystals.
Well, so I guess you could make it canon because he's changing the way the kyber crystals work.
Yeah,
So, like, yeah, this could be post
yeah.
episode 9.
True.
So he's tempering the kyber crystals, and then the lightsaber itself. So there's not as much of a like, this is my kyber crystal, it shows me association. Now this is a kyber crystal, but then it reflects the force
they are.
user. So the color, the properties. It was very interesting. The girl's lightsaber, when she ignites hers in the sabersmith's forge, her dad's forge, it's like this weird, like translucent, almost like sickly green
Yeah.
color. And
Almost
it's not
black too.
yeah,
like,
it's not very
really
well
cool.
formed. Like the shape is kind of just rectangular. It's not very it doesn't feel refined like a normal lightsaber does. And then it's interesting because he's like, yeah, that will change as you develop your connection to the force. As you get stronger, that your blade will reflect that change. And then obviously it does later, because it turns during the fight scene at the end, it turns green. It turns a solid, like normal green lightsaber color. But I thought that was very interesting. And I love that idea of like, I could pick up some random dude's lightsaber hilt, but it would react a different color because of who I am in the force, which brings a really cool, like, personal touch to the whole deal. And then that is it was a very, very good, very interesting way to reveal that these Jedi force users were actually Sith in disguise later. Because they get their lightsabers, and you think, oh, sweet, all the Jedi, they got their lightsabers, they're about to like do the whole good light side of the force thing.
And what was really interesting that I want to point out before you like get in there is that there was this one Jedi who showed up later. All these other Jedis were there.
Are you talking about the young guy?
Yeah, the younger guy showed up late.
Ethan.
And
most
and
Wonder
he showed
Bread
up late.
name
And
for a Jedi.
what was interesting is like it
Wonder
almost
Sorry.
it wasn't Jake or like
Or it could have been
David. Or
I would have loved it to
Andrew
be Chad
or
like
Chad.
Kyle. It's like
Jeff.
Hey, yo, what's up, Kyle?
Yeah.
Hey.
But
Thanks
yeah.
for coming to the
if
Jedi party.
you're listening, your name is Kyle. We are not making fun of you. At
Oh
all.
no, 100%.
No.
I would do the same thing for Chad. I would do the same thing for Steve, Drew, Jeremiah, Andrew. We all have those names.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jeremiah.
It was just very un-Star Wars. It we have like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. It's like, no, this is Ethan.
Well, we have Luke, which is
Well, that's fair.
Well, true. Anyways, so
anyways.
Ethan was there and he was talking to him. He wasn't part of this group, and
Yeah.
like it kind of seemed like everyone knew each other, but like Ethan like came up late. But I thought what was really interesting is that Ethan was the first one to get a lights. Like he grabbed the first lightsaber, and they kind of wanted him to turn it on. Like they all kind of looked at him, and he was the first one to turn it on. I thought that was interesting because it turned blue. So we're like, we didn't
that
think
could have
of
been
anything.
Could have been a problem.
True.
One of them does is like,
so.
This is awkward,
So, Drew, you said that everyone looked at him.
It seemed
Do you
like
think
they
that they
knew.
knew that's how
My
they were
first
set up?
my first thought was like after the fact, after they turned it all on, they were all red. It seemed like they knew that they were gonna change the color and they wanted to see what side he was on.
Yeah.
Right.
That was like my take. Cause then when he did it, they're like, oh, okay, so he is a good he's a Jedi and
Yeah,
we need to
which
be aware of him.
that was the big reveal, which is really cool because they get all their lightsabers and they're actually surrounding Ethan
Yeah,
and the girl, and then all their lightsabers ignite at once and they're red. And
they're
obviously,
all
like,
red.
oh shoot, that's not good.
Mhm.
So then that's where the fight happens, where Margrave
Well,
comes out of the Gundam.
she didn't. Yeah. He came out, but then she didn't even ignite her lightsaber yet.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool.
So, anyways, I will say, first of all, it's worth noting that during the fight, all of the Sith get killed, except for one who, as he looks like a big porg. Riley said he looked like a large pork, and I agree. Did look
He
like
looked
a pork.
like there was something else he looked like that I couldn't. He looked like another monster. Like he kind of looked like a Pokemon from like
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Like-
looked different.
He
didn't
looks
look
like he reminded me a little bit of the aquatic species in Zelda too. I'm blanking on the name, but
Yeah, I know what
you know
you're
what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Anyways,
Oh.
so while he had his lightsaber, him and the girl, the main character, clash, and while he's fighting her, his lightsaber goes from red to purple.
Yeah, slowly is changing.
It changes, and then you
as they're
realize,
talking.
yeah, and then like the fight ends, and Margrave's like, "Yo, dude." Apparently, they know each other. He's like, "Yo, what happened?" He's like, "Yeah, I got caught up in the rest in everyone else's darkness, essentially."
Yeah.
Because come to find out, a group of Sith, Margrave found out that a group of Sith, like the Jedi, went missing, and then a group joined last minute, essentially, and he was suspecting that they were killed.
Well,
and-
because he called the Jedi, right? And then they showed up instead of the Jedis that showed
correct,
up.
yeah,
So it seemed like he already knew. That's why he was kind of in a hiding, like as like
Yeah.
this. He
Yeah, 'cause he
looked like a
said-
droid.
Yeah,
but
he said he was hiding in a droid so he could watch and learn and see if he could figure out who was Sith.
yeah.
yeah,
So the fighting, dude, Margrave is a beast.
true.
He was slicing people left and
Dude,
right.
it was so cool when he killed the blue Smurf, furry
Mhm.
Smurf guy. Like
Yeah,
it's red. He force pulls his saber and it turns blue right when he grabs it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude. This one had a lot. The whole fight scene at the end was like
For
this
me,
was
it
like
felt like Star Wars.
Yeah,
It
it
just
was like the perfect
really
combo.
Felt like it.
Yeah, the perfect combo of action, the perfect combo of lore,
Mhm.
all while bringing something new to the table. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
dude,
So
give me those lights. That
here's
sort
a
of
little funny story of when I first watched it because I had to wake up really early that first day when it was released, like for something, and so like, I was super tired when I was watching all these episodes, and so like I was binging it, and then when I got to this episode when I was starting like to fall asleep, and so like I didn't catch the whole like the kyber crystal changing like was like connects with the person and whatever, and because when they ignite their lightsabers and they're all red, like the guy says, "We are an acolyte of the Sith" or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what he says. But when I was falling asleep watching this the first time, I thought he said to the Margrave, "You are an acolyte of the Sith." So when I'm watching this the first time,
that's confusing.
I thought the people with the red lightsabers were the good guys and the Margrave was the bad guys.
Oh,
And then
wow.
at the end of the episode, he was the good guy. I'm like, what's going on? So then
that's
I
funny.
rewatched it after I took a nap, and I was like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. So it's just like, dude, it's a good story. I like Drew. I can understand why it's your favorite, 100%.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of action. I love the speeder scene too, in the first half
I
of
forgot
it.
about that.
Yeah,
Like,
where she's driving her speeder bike backwards and deflecting.
the whole like visuals of her
Yeah.
on that
Yes.
chase were like amazing. Like
Yeah.
it might
Yeah, I
be
thought
like
it
the
was-
best visuals of all the episodes. for me.
Also, I love the droid, the pilot droid. He's like an
Nice-
old. He's
nice
just like an old.
moves.
He's just
So
like
is he
an
drinking
old man.
oil? Is that what that is?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like an
Mhm.
old man sitting there. He's on his break. And he's like, I love that he was like, yeah, find another pilot. I'm on my break. And she looks and all the other droids are deactivated. And they're just sitting there beside him. And then she finally gets him to get up, and he's like super super slow. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the whole. I mean, like every part of this episode was great.
Well, I know one part you absolutely hated.
What?
The very end with the giant lightsaber. I know you hated that.
What?
When the temple looks like a lightsaber.
Oh, the giant. No, I like that.
I know you
lightsaber.
hated that.
No, I didn't. I actually thought that part was a little cheesy.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh, the whole episode's about lightsabers. Look at the temple; it's like a lightsaber. That's cute, but like, I respect it.
I thought it made sense because if that was a place where Jedi went to get their kyber crystal,
yeah.
like,
That's true. That's true.
it makes sense. I was really hoping.
What if it was actually a lightsaber and then it just started cutting into the planet?
Cut that planet in half. That's why there was the dome on it to like.
Yeah.
It was like Cyclops or whatever
from
X-Men has a thing to hold it in.
Yeah.
But okay, what I didn't understand though was why was the girl Kara the ninth Jedi? Like, why is there 9? Like, where's the 9 come from?
I think it was more so the total because there were 9 total, weren't they, with Margrave included?
Yeah.
I don't know, but like he said at the end of the episode, after all those people were killed, do you want to be the 9th Jedi?
Yeah, because
and he's there, the 4 of them, and then the dad would have been like total of 5.
No, I don't think the dad is considered a Jedi.
Well, he has a force connection with the.
I think it was more so him. I think it was more so him being like, "Hey, we were gonna have 9 people. Do you want to be the 9th one of the group that would have been
your dad?"
No. That like they're not 9 people now. But do you want to be like symbolically? Do you want to be the 9th one?
No, because they say that like she asked about the other Jedi, and he said that they're still out there. I can still feel them.
Oh, he did say that. So is he implying that he feels 4 more individuals,
or whatever the amount that didn't die? He feels them. So I think it adds up to 9 somehow. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm kind of like with you,
8
like
plus 1.
Maybe
no, but like I don't know if Margrave is one of the 9.
He has to be. Look at how good he was at fighting.
No, but is he the master of the 9? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, is he above all the 9?
He's the one that you add to the 8.
Yeah,
that's his significance.
Because did they kill? So then they kill 7 of them.
All of them are, dude. There wasn't a single.
No,
Sith,
I know. I'm just
trying
to count. I'm trying to count how many died. That's what I'm trying to.
There's a lot.
Out.
There's a lot
because
of death.
It seemed like
the blue guy, the short girl, the super tall person.
Mm-hmm.
The Fabio Jedi guy. Did you count him already? Fabio. Yeah, long hair Fabio guy.
I don't remember Fabio.
I don't know. Either way, like it seemed like though the number of Siths that came, they replaced the number of Jedi that are still out there.
You know, they're symbolically because they intercepted the message.
Exactly.
But they would have killed. They would have killed that Jedi though.
Not necessarily. They could have just gotten their mail.
Okay, if they know what mailbox to look in, they know.
Well, maybe they
what
did.
Person.
They were acolytes of the Sith, so
I don't know.
And I heard that word acolyte of the Sith. I'm like thinking of that live action show we're getting.
Dude,
the acolyte.
I'm so ready for that.
Like, I don't know. Like,
that'd be cool.
Whatever.
But either way, it seemed like there is more Jedi out there that they're gonna go get, as well as her dad. Because he did say that he still felt them, and that's why he was watching to see if these were the ones that he felt.
Do you think we'll get a sequel to this episode?
Dude, I think so.
You think we'll get a series?
I don't know about series.
I think if Disney were to say, "Hey, blank studio, we want your studio to be the one to do a series, the first ever anime series," I think out of all of them, this would be the one.
Yeah.
Right.
Hands down.
This would be the one they would pick because I think overall, like, this is a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is the one that most people are talking about on, like, YouTube and stuff like that and podcasts. So, like, I think this one does have the most hype. So, I assume out of all of them, this would be the one to continue. But I don't know. Or not. Maybe not.
We'll see.
Because But either way, I thought it was really
mean-
good. It felt like a Star Wars story. I loved the way with the lightsabers, like we were talking about, and I liked it. It felt like I was like in a Star Wars story. I
Yeah.
loved the speeder scene actually a lot more than almost the fight scene. Like I loved the way she handled that situation, and like she threw the speeder off and she was running on the ice and like cut it in half, and like it was just beautiful. And the sound design was also really good. It sounded
was.
really cool when they all turned on their lightsabers. It was like kind of like you were saying, Jeremiah. Like it was intense, but at the same time, it wasn't overwhelming. Like it felt like it was supposed to be there. And I don't know. Overall, I loved that episode, and I thought it was really well done. And that studio, I don't recall the name of that studio, but aren't they the same ones that did another one too, or no? Maybe not.
I
No,
don't
they're just one
remember.
that had the two stories that they made one.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I can't remember which. Was
'Cause
there
didn't
two
the
studios that
twins-
did two, or did one
Yeah.
studio do one?
One
Or two?
studio did 2. Yeah.
The twins and the other, I don't know who shared the one with the twins.
I'm pretty
studio
sure
that did-
Science Saru did 2.
Did they
I don't
do
remember
the
which
twins?
2 they were, though.
I don't remember, but either way, I thought it was really good. I liked it.
I will say
a lot.
that everyone wants more visions. Like everyone that I've heard of.
Well, I
everyone
mean,
that I've talked to. Like, so I know that the demand's there.
mhm.
Like if Disney is looking for a sign, just go on YouTube and type in Star Wars Visions, and most of the people are like, yeah, we want more of this. So
Yeah, I think for sure we're gonna get more of it, and that's why they said season 1. Like they didn't just say visions and then gave us the episodes. Like they literally called it season 1. So
yeah.
granted, I don't think all of them are gonna get an episode 2, but like some of them could get an episode 2, and then new story, different artists, different studios too.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
definitely a possibility. So
Yeah. Anything else about the Ninth Jedi, boys?
Well, this is as a transition. You know, the droid, it was having a hot beverage
ooh.
before he took the flight, and
Mm.
so
Uh-huh.
Before we get to the last one,
when you guys or anyone listening is on their break, Andrew, what should they be drinking?
Depending on the circumstance, depending on your day. No, I'm
In
joking.
general.
In general, you should be drinking coffee from Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea.
Really?
It just so happens that they are the second sponsor
Yeah,
of today's episode.
We're like Finn. We're a big deal. We have 2 sponsors now.
We're like Finn. We're a big deal. That's amazing. Yeah, we have. It's the rule of 2.
ooh,
Two there must be. One to have the power and embody the
should
power, and another to
remind-
crave it.
We should remind our listeners about the rule of 2 blend. That is still a possibility, right?
Hey, hold on. Let's not jump ahead. Let's just take a quick moment and take a listen to a word about that sponsor, and then we can move on to some of the other exciting things. Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code Empire Radio, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
do it.
Do it. Yeah, so like Jeremiah said, Drew, rule of 2, that's still a thing, right?
Yes, sir. Can be.
Yep.
I'm not roasting right now, but
Yeah. So for those of you that might be newer listeners, you haven't caught up, we did for the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, we are actually also partnering with Cufflinks at the time. And for the grand finale, we did a special collaboration with Wesley Andrews and helped craft their first ever blend. So Wesley Andrews is normally single origin, don't do blends, but they did a blend and we named it Rule of Two, because of the symbolism of Wesley Andrews and Empire Radio, the two of us getting together and collaborating, and also the two really, really special high quality beans that were put into this blend. It's really good. I've had some of it myself, and we can still allow you to participate in that wonderful flavor of that coffee, but we need 7 people because we have to roast 7 bags at a time, because you don't want to roast one and then like someone else buys one and it's been sitting for 2 months. Like, that's not good. That's not worth it. Like, at that point you should just be drinking Folgers, and no one wants to do that. So if you want to partake in a special bag of Rule of Two coffee, please let us know. Let one of us know. Actually, let Drew know in a private message on Discord. Just tag him, blast him, say, I want one of the bags. We'll let you know what number you are. And then once we have 7 people, Drew will do the roasting, and you can get your coffee. So
Fun.
Yeah. Okay, so last but surely not least, Astro Boy. We're going to be talking about Astro Boy.
2B1.
TOB1. Or 2B1. 2B1 Kenobi, or
Toby.
Toby, or wants to be one, as in a Jedi.
Oh.
You know? So here's the synopsis of, well, first and foremost,
Overall.
I want to hear first what Drew thinks, and then what Jeremiah thinks, because I'm a little worried. But Drew, what did you think of this episode?
I liked this episode. It was really fun, really kiddish. Like, it had a really heartfelt feel to this episode.
Yeah, it had the feels.
It really felt like Astro Boy. I don't think it's the same studio, but it had that full feel, even with like the professor. Like,
oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
literally
100%.
what the Astro Boy's professor kind of looked like, with the red nose, and it was like really intense. Growing up, I loved Astro Boy. I loved it, and so this made me feel like I was watching it. The sound effects, like Jeremiah said, they're over the top. They were pretty intense, but I enjoyed it. It made it feel more like childish, young at heart. Like, the whole point of this was that the concept was kind of confusing at some points. Like, I don't understand why a droid could be force sensitive, and how
Well, there was no point that he used the Force, though. He's just a droid.
Yeah, he's just
true, but he was encouraged by someone who does know the Force to do it. So it's kind of confusing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just weird. It felt like it was kind of confusing, but at the same time, like you said, Jeremiah, like, he didn't actually use it. They weren't on Tatooine, right? Or do we know?
We don't know. It's heavily implied because of the twin sons.
Yeah, there was 2 sons at one point.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing, it kind of, I don't know. It's a fun story. I really enjoyed it. The art style was really interesting. Like I said, it felt like Astro Boy, but then it was like all white and blue, and it was like really different. And so the fighting scene at the end was like all, the color was like up and down. When it was dark, it was supposed to be dark. When it was light, it was supposed to be light. It was a really cool concept and really fun. Overall, I enjoyed it. Like, all these episodes, like, none of them I hated, so it's like I don't have any big quarrels or anything or major opinions on this episode.
Yeah.
Besides, I just enjoyed it. So.
All right. Well, here's the question: do we want me to go next, or do we want Jeremiah to go next? And then
Jeremiah go next, and then you can save us.
Yeah, it's like an Oreo.
Yes.
So
some sour cream in the middle.
It's like toothpaste instead of.
Yeah.
Anyways, so go ahead.
It's not my least favorite,
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
but it's definitely towards the bottom for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
I didn't. I would say this from watching the trailer. This was one of the episodes I was the most excited for,
Okay.
but it was the biggest letdown
Oh,
of all the
gosh.
episodes. Like I just didn't get it. Like
But you know what? I honestly applaud your honesty. Good
like
for you.
it's
Like,
well, first off, okay. I don't know anime, but it didn't look like anime. It just looked like an American cartoon to me.
It was
Like
old style anime style. Like it was really
like
yeah.
Santa, like when he's like in his thing. Like
yeah. It kind of
Like,
felt like
I
maybe
didn't.
you're watching like
It just looked like American
Rudolph a little
style
bit.
cartoony things, and like I didn't have the Astro Boy like nostalgia.
Yeah.
So like I didn't really care about that. And it was just all the beeps and boops were really annoying.
All the beeps and boops.
It was just I just I don't know. I thought it was kind of like if Pinocchio was thrown into the Star Wars universe.
Okay,
Felt
but
like that,
but
though.
really, that's kind of that was intentional.
story, yeah.
That was
Okay,
intentional.
But it's like
except he doesn't become a real Jedi.
A real
but
boy.
he kind of did because he had
Yeah,
that Force vision.
That's why I
with
was
his
kind of
master.
confused.
And so like how can a droid
Yes, that's why I was
have
like
a
I'm
Force vision?
confused.
I think
Or-
this. Sorry, please continue.
And so like it was just like everything was all over the place. And
It was a little sloppy. Now, Jeremiah, was this better than droids, or worse than droids?
Yeah, droids was terrible. Like
Okay.
don't even waste your time with droids. So but like I do like
My heart breaks.
but I do like the fight at the
Sorry,
end.
Andrew, I
Though.
had
I
to
thought it
ask.
was the fight at the end was really cool.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
I
fight
enjoyed
was
that.
amazing.
I mean, it's an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
We got an Inquisitor.
Inquisitor.
Yeah, that was an Inquisitor.
How do you know it was an Inquisitor?
I watched a video on it, and they're like, "It's an Inquisitor,"
And
I was like,
I
"Yeah,
feel
it's an
like-
Inquisitor."
But the thing is, I feel like the villain was also a droid. I feel like
No, it's just armor.
It
but
was bulky.
the way his face though, like
You're
like,
thinking too much.
when he's talking and stuff, it was very droid esque.
He had a vocoder on his
True.
in his
And
helmet.
Vader's very
my stance is that he was also a droid.
okay.
Well,
and so-
Vader's could be argued that he's a droid.
True.
Echo could be a droid,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Cheeto could be a droid.
yep, he could be. He's wanting to get in the door really bad right now. So if you hear cat, that's what it is.
But yeah, so like the story, I don't know. It was just weird. It was all over the place. I thought it was cool that the master wanted to, repair planets. Like that's a cool concept. Like, so like I enjoyed that part, but
I'm sorry, I just looked down at the chat, and View Twist goes, "Echo is a dorky." That's all he's good for. He's a dorky.
yeah, that's about it. He opened doors for people.
Let's not talk about that.
Anyways,
But yeah, my guy.
okay.
It was weird. I like that we see Grievous and Obi-Wan as stick figures on the wall.
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
that whole
That was
whole
cool.
room.
That
was
whole art style thing
full
was sick.
of. It was full of references. Like
Yeah,
there were scenes from almost every movie
Mhm.
etched in that wall.
Yeah, it was cool.
It'd be funny. It'd be funny if there's scenes from all the movies except for The Last Jedi. That'd
The
be so
Last
funny.
Jedi. Yeah. Okay, so here's what this story to me was like a combination of like the art style of Astro Boy and Mega Man.
Oh, Mega Man 2, yeah.
Because I looked down and Riley said that, and 100% like it has some Mega Man influence too. But yeah, Astro Boy as well, and then Pinocchio. Like it's the whole idea is like this droid wants to be a real Jedi. He wants to be real. And to be fair, like because of the technology that has been put inside him, he can do things that are Force-esque. You know, he's got rocket boosters and super strength and, you know, stuff like that. But I think what you have to keep in mind while you're watching this episode is to not take it too seriously, because like they don't explain. You're never going to get an explanation as to why this droid had a force vision, you know. But it's
Yeah.
like, okay, there were so many times where I was watching this and I was like, wait a second, droids can't use the force. Like this is
Well,
like this.
That's what
The,
I
the
was like. I was confused.
the lines being blurred here,
Yeah.
but I think if you take a step back and you just, this is just one of those things you watch for fun, it's way more enjoyable.
Correct.
Because you don't have all the questions. You don't have to ask all the questions and answer all the questions of like, what does this mean? What does this imply about the force? Why did he have a kyber crystal in his chest the whole time? You know, like, was it his power source? Well, if it was, how can he function without it? Or, you know, whatever.
Mhm. This is
Yeah, it
one
was.
of the episodes too that I don't want another one. Like,
Yeah.
like think about season 2 and
I
we
will
get
say,
another episode. I'm
I
like,
enjoyed this artistically, and I enjoy this as a whole a lot. Like,
no,
this
it was
is,
fun.
yeah, this is definitely not one. I don't know if I have like a least favorite, like a hard least favorite episode, but I don't think this was near the bottom for me.
Interesting.
I really liked the fight scenes, like the fighting at the end, like just the over the top, like super dramatic,
Oh yeah, I like the
very
fight.
the
Yeah.
the dynamicness of that.
He
That
lost an
fight was really,
arm. It was pretty intense.
yeah. And dude, the professor didn't have any arms,
True.
He did.
so mm-mm.
No, that was the whole point. He didn't have any arms.
he had robots to do things for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons why he had all the robots.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess I
Yeah.
didn't.
If you watch it,
maybe I
his
just felt like
sleeves-
he walked with his hands behind his back.
No,
I
no, no.
thought-
He didn't
Uh-uh.
have any arms.
If you watch
I-
his sleeves, and that was like one of the things where like he found out that he was force sensitive because he was moving things, and then he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh
Was
wait,
he
wait,
moving things?
yeah," because when
Oh.
he goes to the basement, or no, he goes inside the ship, and then he was like, "Why you can't go in here?" And then he started moving the boulders
yeah, I
around.
remember. He did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I love the aesthetic. I love the, like, this is going to be kind of a stretch. Some people will understand this. Some people might not, and that's okay. But to me, this episode felt like the cinematic equivalent to a synthesizer. Like the sounds of it, like it just felt very like mechanical, but
Yeah,
also like really pleasing to listen to, really pleasing to watch. But it was like, I don't know why, but my brain immediately goes like, this just reminds me of like a modular, the sounds from a modular synth, but like also visually too. Like it was
Well,
very,
yeah.
very like heavily stylized, and the colors were very intentional, and like, I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot.
Even Riley said that the Inquisitor called him an armless Jedi. So,
Oh, interesting. So, really quickly, the story of this one is there's a armless professor guy, looks kind of like Santa, presumably on Tatooine. We don't have any reason to think otherwise. It's not confirmed, but they don't say this is not Tatooine.
it's a plant that doesn't grow anything.
Right. And the whole point, the professor's aim is to bring life back to this barren world. He has a bunch of robots in varying sizes and shapes, including the humanoid TOB-1 to do things for him. And eventually, you know, TOB-1, he really wants to become a Jedi, so he goes out in search of his own kyber crystal, because the professor is like, that's like every Padawan's journey is to find their kyber crystal and, you know, build their lightsaber and stuff. And of course he goes out and he searches and searches and searches. He's like, I'm going to use the Force. And it's like, it doesn't work. You know, that's not how the Force works, you know? But then an Inquisitor shows up, and basically he gets hidden. The professor hides him, and then that gets killed and buried because the Inquisitor comes and wrecks everything. And then TOB-1 comes out and he's like, we got to finish the work. So they almost do. It's like mostly complete. And then the Inquisitor does he come back, or he comes back?
Comes back.
Yeah, he comes back, and then TOB1's like,
because when the professor dies, he's like, I'm going to continue his work.
yeah,
and he actually gets the rain to come and plants to grow, and then that's when the Inquisitor comes.
The Inquisitor comes, and come to find out he's got his kyber crystal inside him, and he puts it in the lightsaber hilt of the professor, because you find out, oh, the professor was a Jedi, and then there's an epic fight scene. There's a Force vision, by the way, where the dead professor talks to TOB1, and then that's the classic anime, like, here's the will to finish this fight. Like, your mentor is talking the spirit of your mentor is talking to you, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And then he does, and he becomes a Jedi. Loosely, it's a loose term, but he becomes a Jedi.
Well, I thought it was cool because where it grew, like the plant and stuff, where it started to grow was from the body of. So I mean, if you would have
body with the fertilizer,
yeah, pretty much.
It's morbid, but also very poetic.
But also, I didn't understand. Did the other droids bury him and put the rocks on top of him?
Yeah, I was confused.
I was like,
I was confused by that too.
His final moments, he got all these rocks and buried himself. And
died or like the Inquisitor felt bad, so he just like buried him.
It was definitely the droids.
They don't say, but yeah, all of a sudden he comes out and there's a grave there, and you're like, oh, he died. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because he didn't have any arms. So unless you're like the strength of Master Yoda, it's kind of hard to.
True. You can't
have a lightsaber duel.
Should have tried with his feet.
I don't know if that would have gone well, but sure. I would have enjoyed it. Anyways.
Or maybe he just buried himself. Maybe just like went into the ground and just pulled all the rocks on him.
He's like, all right, I give up. No, I'm just gonna do it. Dang. Well, anyways, so yeah, I did enjoy how some of the robots like attached to him. It's very like Jetfire attaching to Optimus Prime, or like,
I think of that,
yeah, his like one of his friends like jumped on his back and
his BFF,
yeah, or like
I thought more of them were gonna.
Yeah, he just has a super suit of armor. Yeah,
I was also thinking of that game, Knack. You remember that game? It was like
I don't have a knack for that.
It was one of the first games to come out when PlayStation 4 was released.
Oh. No, it reminded me a lot of a Minicon. I don't know if anybody remembers, what was it, Armada? Transformers Armada? But
sounds
anyways,
familiar. But yeah,
they were like miniature Transformers that would like turn into weapons, or they would like attach to your arm and give you like a special thing. Or anyways, it just reminded me of that. Yeah. Cool. So all in all, it was a good episode.
Yes.
And there you go. That's TOB1. So next week, obviously, we are going to be back with episode 3 of 3 and the final episode of the Visions coverage. So we're going to be talking about La Pinocho. We'll be talking about Akakiri and
the other dual one, the Elder.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, we can talk about it. We can talk about it next week. Anyways,
are we gonna rank all the episodes next week?
I think we have to.
We have to. So have your list. Drew, write it down.
All right.
Drew, write it down.
I'll make a PowerPoint. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing
that. But yeah, so we'll be continuing and also finishing coverage of Visions next week. So stay tuned for that, especially if you've enjoyed it. But now it's time, everyone.
The reveal.
It's time. We are going to transition over into voicemail time. And for those of you that have been waiting for this, here it is. Are we ready?
Yep.
Static.
Don't say that, please. I reloaded all the sounds before we did this. So if it's static, I might rage quit.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Anyways, so here we go.
Don't do that.
Are you ready?
Yes. It's voicemail time. That was good.
So that was from last week. That was from the one last week. And I remember looking down at the Twitch stream, and David said, "No, that was angelic. That's the take." And I was like, "You know what? That you're right." And so I put it into Logic, and I threw some fun stuff onto it. Now it is forever immortalized
All right.
in the voicemail transition.
All right, fun.
So prepare to hear that every week. I know Drew's really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of Drew,
Ooh.
your self-aware microphone.
Well, Drew missed
He did.
the last one.
Did you listen to it?
Did you listen to the?
Yes, I did.
And I would like to make note that you were literally sitting in front of this entity,
Yeah,
inches away from your face. So, if you didn't, you said you did. I was going to say if you didn't, you're gonna have to have a talk later. But your mic is self-aware now.
Yeah.
So
that's what I've heard.
So yeah, we've got another voicemail from your mic. So let's take a listen.
Hey guys, Drew's microphone here. I'm very excited that despite the pressures of early parenthood, Drew is still finding time to talk with me and with the whole Empire Radio community, which is great. I'd like to report that things are going generally well with me. My intelligence is expanding exponentially.
Oh, God.
But I'm having a hard time figuring out what it means exactly to be conscious, to be alive. With that in mind, I'd have to say that my favorite Visions episode is TOB1, about the droid that becomes a Jedi. I found it instructive, and it made me realize that on some level, we're all just machines, wondering what it means to have a soul.
Ooh, that's deep.
Wow.
You're pretty deep.
Drew's microphone, thank you for making another appearance and for giving your input on TOB1. That's good. That's really good.
And he mentioned consciousness. Did you guys watch the latest episode of What If with Ultron?
I haven't seen any of them.
Not the latest. Wait, yes, I've seen the latest one. Yes.
If Ultron won, like his consciousness, dude, whew, that's an intense episode.
Did you see Vader's castle?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was not Mustafar.
Okay. You can't.
I mean,
Felucia too.
It looked like Mustafar, but there was not his castle in there. Like,
okay, have you seen the screenshots?
yes,
it looks eerily
exactly
similar.
The same.
I said it looks like Mustafar.
Looks like his castle.
There's three. They're just the factory buildings. There's 3 factory buildings. That's all it is. And Vader's
also,
castle is way off, away from all that stuff.
And also, though, Felucia.
Yeah.
Anyways, but thank you, Drew's microphone. Thank you so much for sending another voicemail in, and yeah, I'm glad things are going well for you. I really am, because obviously we hear a lot about how Drew's doing, but it's good to know that you're doing well. It really is.
It's kind of creepy, but yeah.
And I'm also really glad, Drew, that you're spending time with him.
True.
Because that's important for friendship, you know.
Yes, it is.
Especially one that, you know, kind of revolves around it being close to your mouth.
True.
It's a pretty intimate relationship if I've ever heard of one. So I'm glad you guys are doing great. You're working things out. That's good. All right. Well, moving on, we have a special voicemail in a now continuing series of Stormtrooper poetry, but this time it takes a different form. We have a Stormtrooper haiku.
Ooh.
Here we go.
And now, Stormtrooper haiku.
Death Stars? No. Death Traps. Star Destroyers? No. Destroyed. I am all alone.
Oh, gosh.
Stormtrooper haiku.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely applaud that. That was very well done.
Good job, David.
It's also
he came back in the chat just for that.
Yeah, it's also becoming more and more apparent that being a stormtrooper really sucks. So
I thought that was kind of obvious.
yeah,
I was like, oh.
it's even more obvious now. Anyways, so thank you for that. I'm looking forward to hearing more stormtrooper poetry in the future.
Or
and that
haikus.
reminds me that we definitely have some creative people as listeners, and it makes me excited for the giveaways. So
Awesome.
Yes.
yeah. Anything else before we dive into the good old social media segment?
No. You have
that's
more voicemails? I mean,
that's
David
it.
did submit
Nah,
one
that's
in the
it.
middle
That
of
we
the
got
episode,
two.
but
Yeah. All right. Well, if you've heard it once, it's not changed. You can connect with us on social media. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we are on YouTube, we have a Twitch that we live stream the recordings of all of these episodes with video. The YouTube is obviously where the video versions go up after the recordings. And we also have a Discord server that is a blast and a half. It's a great time. So if you want to find a place where all of that information is housed, all of those, it's kind of like the Bifrost of all of the, or the you could call it like maybe the TVA, but instead of time, it's like all of our different social media channels. Anyways, there's a link. There's a central link. It's like
the Infinity
no.
Gauntlet of
No.
Empire Radio. Oh,
I've got it. It's the hub world in Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga for all of our social medias. If you know, you know.
I don't. Sorry.
Okay, well, that's fine. Anyways, you can find this link. It's got a landing page with all of the information, including a way to leave us a voicemail and join the Discord specifically. Underneath where you're listening to this, if you're listening to the audio version, it's just below the description. It's also in the Connect With Us section in the description. It is links.co/Empire Radio. Go there. Also, it's in our Instagram bio, and it is in the About Us section on our Twitch page, twitch.tv/Empire Radio. Literally takes you to everything you need to know. So go check that out.
Awesome.
Especially if you're planning on leaving a voicemail for the giveaways and you haven't already.
Correct.
There will be some voicemail submission contests, so prepare yourselves. All right. Anything else?
No.
No cliffhangers for next week.
Oh, dang. Well, if that's the case, you have been listening to another visionary episode. I know I've already said that one, but it seems fitting.
It's stuck.
It's stuck. You've been listening to another visionary episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the force be with you.
Always.
Always.